Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this movie review, I will be talking about, finally, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I hope I get that right on top of my head. Anyway, it was indeed madness one way or the other. Let me hint it that way of how I feel about this movie. I did watch it on Disney Plus, and I definitely am ready to talk about the movie. Especially with the movie kind of pretty much set in at this point, and I think I am definitely more than ready to talk about it for this video. Before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I do have a merchandise store, which is with Teespring, which is a feature on for YouTubers anyway, which is nice. But anyways, it's something. So if you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below, and I'll try to remind myself, my future self or whatever. Forget how that works. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe regardless. It really helps out, and I do appreciate it. So, anyways, let's go into Doctor Strange. So, my initial thoughts after watching this movie, I did say I liked it. I did like it to some extent. I did like Doctor Strange himself, of course. The main character himself was believable. The actions he did, and the moments with Doctor Strange, and the character himself and his personality and everything, how he sort of like interacted with the problems that were presented in front of him were, well, Doctor Strange-esque. And I felt that he was believable for the most part. And I do like Doctor Strange as a whole in this MCU sort of take overall with Doctor Strange, and it kind of pretty much felt consistent here, thankfully. So I do feel that I did enjoy it from that perspective when it comes to multiverse, and I think really that's pretty much like the gist of it, of how I feel with this movie. I only felt the likes that really came from like the Doctor Strange himself, and the visual effects, of course. I guess the individual moments were pretty cool, with very, very like finite exceptions. I felt, and the more I talked about it with my friends after, and we did watch this in this Discord call, so we like were able to watch it at the same time, and we shared our thoughts at the after the movie. And I remember saying that I liked the movie, but it was only to some extent. And then, but overall, it was pretty disappointing with a lot of what was presented to us, in the movie, with the Book of Vishanti and the Illuminati, and the cameos and such like that from the Illuminati, and there was Mordo and all that stuff. It felt pretty pointless for a lot of the things that happened in this movie. It was a giant sort of bush baiting, as I like to call it, all for these few results that, yeah, okay, that could be cool for the rest of the MCU saga, that this new MCU saga or arc or whatever you want to call it could play a part of. But the other stuff that was a lot, that was the majority for the movie, really felt pretty much pointless, especially with the antagonist Wanda slash the Scarlet Witch. Was why, and all that stuff, like the reasoning and stuff like that, was kind of like off-putting, or just kind of off. It felt off because I felt like what happened with the ending of WandaVision, there should have been something in between that. I felt like there was supposed to be something with Wanda in the book, because yes, the book does corrupt people as a result of using the book. I think it was like the Book of Holding or something like that. The book corrupts people, one way or the other, and of course, Wanda being one of the strongest MCU sort of figures in the entire universe, or at least in this universe anyway. You would think that she would be able to resist it, at least put up a better fight with that curse or whatever. But it seemed like the way this movie was presented, it just felt like she just got corrupted right away, and it kind of like jumped to her just really being corrupt at that point, and it kind of just jumped the gun. I felt like there should have been something, because from what I've gathered with the original Marvel comics anyway, there was supposed to be something happening, right? The Book of Holding itself is supposed to be like a big story, and there's like a lot of things behind it, and yet we just kind of like jumped to this point already with Wanda being corrupted. So she was like it made her super obsessed with the kids. She wants them back, and so I kind of have spoilers from WandaVision for those who have not watched it. But I mean, if you watched WandaVision, it would make a lot more sense going into this movie. So there is quite a bit to digest before even getting into in this movie. But even then, there's still, I feel like, should have been more to it to digest before getting into this movie, to help really build up the context and stuff like that as to why Wanda is like this in this movie. And it really boils down to like such a simple thing, but because of the way it's written, it was such a like it didn't go straight to the point. It goes like a circle, a curve, and it like pretty much does a bunch of loops and all this stuff, and then it gets to the point, point C or whatever, the ending of the movie. And the solution to that problem was just like, it could have been something that could have been done or thought of, really, like right in the beginning of the movie. And literally Doctor Strange kind of says it, and Wanda kind of just like brushes it off and is like, whatever. So it really, either way, whether she's corrupted or not, you would think that someone like Wanda would have a stronger mind and come to sort of terms that the Wanda in this universe or whatever, because we're dealing with multiverse, so you already know there's going to be multiple Doctor Stranges and multiple Wandas and Scarlet Witches and stuff like that. You would have thought that she would have thought about that in her head, but I guess she herself wants to have that experience and doesn't care about the other Wanda or something like that. But still, all this just doesn't really add up to really set up for this movie. So I felt like this should have been something else, like the Scarlet Witch in a Book of Holding or something like that, for a streaming show or something like that, or even a movie for all I care. There needs to be something in between, I felt, before we get to this point. Then it could have been maybe a little more believable. Now, even with that said, there were other problems with the movie, like some of the stuff that was, like some of the fight scenes were kind of silly, especially with the one with the music notes. I'll leave it at that. But then there were very important cameos that took place, and yet it kind of was abrupt. It's really hard to like say it without spoiling things, but it's quite there's literal character assassination. Let's just put it that way. Like not like an assassination in a sense that well, I guess you can say that for Wanda, but when it comes to other characters, they literally get assassinated pretty abruptly, one way or the other. But I'll definitely further explain that in the spoilers. And so with that in mind, I mean, overall, it was pretty disappointing to see a lot of the cool things kind of just like was just there to help pull in people, like, ooh, or really build up hype, like, ooh, this guy was gonna be in this movie or something. Oh, this guy's gonna be in this movie and stuff like that. Now there were some cool surprises in the movie, and I thought those were just some genuine cool moments, but it was met with that abrupt ending, and it really ultimately added up to nothing, really. Especially when you think about the solution by the end of it. So a lot of this stuff was just pointless, and it could have been written a lot better. And I would say overall, this is one of the MCU movies that is, I would say, considered one of the worst ones. It's like definitely on the bottom. I would say by far the worst one, for reference, would probably be what is it? Black Widow. I mean, no offense for the Black Widow fans, but I felt like it was pretty mid. Not to mention what they did with Taskmaster. I felt like he could have had this like really cool debut into the MCU. I mean, if you just look at his backstory and stuff like that, it's very like pretty down to earth, and like you kind of want to follow him. You know what I mean? And I was introduced to Taskmaster in MVC3 or Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and and even then I thought he was really cool because of his what he has to do to sort of like show off his gimmick, which is to copy he has like photographic memory, so he can like mimic people's like moves and stuff like that. So he's kind of like one of those like fighting game characters that have those like copying abilities, you know what I mean? So like Mokujin and 12 or 11, and depending on which Street Fighter you come from, and Weapon Master from, or Edge Master from Soul Calibur, so on and so forth. Those kind of characters. Taskmaster is kind of like that, pretty much, and he was pretty cool, but they messed him up in Black Widow. So I would consider that, in my opinion, the worst movie, through and through. And then after that would likely be maybe Doctor Strange or something like that. Maybe the third worst or something like that. It's kind of hard to like think of it right now. But point being, it definitely is one of the bottom movies I would put when it comes to MCU stuff. Now I do understand why people would like it, and it really requires an acquired taste, I guess you can say. But if you really do think about it, it's a pretty dumb story if you like start to break it down. And especially with all the things that happen in between, it just becomes just like I had a friend that was like explaining a lot of the lore with Marvel comics and what actually goes on and stuff like that, or what potential it could have had. And the more he explained it, the more I actually did not like the movie. I don't hate it completely because there are some cool moments in there, but I can't really say I like the movie as a whole. It's just I guess the word madness is a pretty appropriate thing to put. Like it's an appropriate way to put it. And there's two ways to like look at it. Like it could be a madness, like there's just a lot of stuff happening, but on the other scale, or the other end of the scale, you're probably going to be coming out of this experience mad. Like you're gonna not like what they do with the characters that appear in this movie. And I felt like that with a lot of the cameos, and there's just a lot of pointless stuff, and it's like, what the heck. So, but like I said, the visual effects and stuff like that were fine, but it's just a matter of the quality of the story that could have been a lot better. It is definitely the biggest drawback and gripe I have with the movie. It could have been written better. I mean, it needed a better setup. I wish that there was some sort of there was something covering the Book of Holding before leading to Multiverse of Madness, and ultimately, I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, there are some things to come out of, but I felt like that could have been resolved within less than the hour, right? This could have been easily like a TV special or something like that, but it kind of dragged on quite a bit, and I felt like this movie could have been, I don't know, it just lost its way, as something I definitely look forward to. The Multiverse of Madness. It felt really cool. It sounded really cool. I remember we were talking about it with a coworker long time ago when it was first announced, and he was like really excited for it just because of the name for it, and it was just, I don't know, I just came out of it pretty like disappointed. Like, again, I do like some of the parts for it, so again, it's not like I don't completely hate it, but I really don't like it either. So all right, so before I like put myself into a loop, I will give this a rating and I'll go into spoilers. So ultimately, I think this movie is a 5 out of 10. The 5 points do go to Doctor Strange and Benedict Cumberbatch, and I would mainly also say that Wanda's Elizabeth Olsen's performance. I hope I'm getting her name right. Um, I think it's Elizabeth. But yes, Elizabeth Olsen's performance as Wanda here is believable. I'll give it that. I think it was just written not to my liking, sure, and along with a lot of people, and now I do see why, a lot of people didn't like it, and so, Multiverse of Madness for me, I think it deserves a 5 just because of those things. The visual effects were great. For the most part, I did like the parts that happened in the climax, just visually anyway. There are some cool concepts that could have been done, maybe elsewhere perhaps. And some of the fight scenes were pretty cool, with some exceptions. So, I think I'll give it that. So, anyways, it's a 5 out of 10, and that's all I'm gonna give it. And so, that's how I kind of feel about the movie without really spoiling things. But now I will go into spoiler territory. So, for those who haven't checked it out already, if you have Disney Plus, I would say go for it, just because it is something you'll get out of this movie. But it is 2.5 hours, so it's gonna kind of feel like a chore to get there, but I guess it is what it is. So if you want to go along with the ride for MCU sagas and stuff like that, I guess it is something to contribute to, I guess, on the table. Oh, and I do want to say that I think this is just a Marvel problem itself, and it's that a lot of the stuff that's now happening to the MCU is really, now starting to trivialize what happened in the past. And, all that stuff was really cool at the time, too. With Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and the Stones, of course, and all the other movies that happened before that, too, of course, with Iron Man at first, and then there's Thor and Captain America and everything. It really, all that stuff kind of feels trivialized and really paints Thanos in a different picture now, along with the Infinity Stones. Streaming shows like Loki, for example, kind of treated the Infinity Stones like they're paperweights, and that's kind of where it's pretty much going with this, because I think that's the nature of the cosmic stuff, and that's kind of a problem with these like big, expensive universes where you're going to you're gonna at some point create these villains or entities or just things that really start to trivialize a lot of stuff you've seen and loved in the past. So it really leaves that taste in your mouth, whether you accept it or not. I think that's of course up to you, but it definitely kind of like taints those waters, so to say. And this is a problem with a lot of things nowadays too, especially with Dragon Ball. Like, a lot of those things are just like whatever, But I guess it's a little different because, yeah, Goku is, getting older and I guess better as a fighter, so you would have to, come up with these villains, I guess, that that are more powerful than the last one. So the power scaling is indeed a problem for not only animes like that, but also here in the MCU. So, I guess to think of it this way is that there are always plenty of like big fish in the sea. There's always bigger fish in the sea, or there's always someone bigger and better than you, and all that stuff. And it is tempting to see what those things are. It does come with the price, though. A lot of times, that it will put down your favorite villain or thing or moment down a scale or whatever, or tier list or whatever how you want to see. But it's just, I don't know. It really does something for sure, though. With where is it going and how you compare it to the past and stuff like that. So, especially with the MCU right now. Sorry, there's like more stuff that I wanted to talk about too in the non-spoiler section, and I do want to mention this is that the stuff with the Illuminati and stuff that happens all throughout the movie does present opportunities and potential for hopefully cool things like well, okay, I think I'm going to be spoiling it from here on out, but the things that happen in the movie could be potential for cool things in the future. I just hope that they do utilize that in the future, and I hope they do that justice. So anyway, let's get into spoilers, and I do want to point out a lot of things that happened in the movie and kind of complain pretty much. So see you guys in the spoiler section. Okay, so spoiler talk now for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So the big one I do want to talk about is the Illuminati, and that could. Okay, so now for spoiler talk, I do have things to talk about. Now that I'm free to talk about spoilers and stuff like that, so the biggest one I do want to talk about is the Illuminati. So the Illuminati, a lot of people know at this point, who definitely watched it in theaters, know that Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, an alternate Captain Marvel. I believe that's supposed to be Carol's best friend or something like that. I believe it's like Maria or something like that. I believe is Captain Marvel from her universe, and then we do have Black Bolt, and then after that we do have Mordo, and then after that, the biggest one of them all for me personally was Charles Xavier, aka Professor X. So I think I should be all of them, right? Well, I hope I'm. Oh, and then Agent Carter, aka Captain America, with the face of Agent Carter. So yeah. So I think that's everyone. Almost forgot about Carter somehow. Anyways, it was nice to see them, and it was nice to see people like Carter as Captain America, because I think that story is pretty cool, or that concept anyway. And there were some interesting heroes like Black Bolt, and from what I can understand, he can just destroy things by talking or whatever. So he has a very powerful voice, I guess you can say. But it was really cool to see Patrick Stewart back as Xavier. I loved it. I was actually super surprised that I was not spoiled on that part. I was actually spoiled with Reed Richards making an appearance, with John Krasinski, Jim, right, from The Office, playing as Mr. Fantastic. Which, personally for me, I don't see him as Reed Richards. I hope it's a different actor for next time, for the quote unquote main universe of things, and which I think it's called Earth 616 or something like that. I don't know, because I'm not too familiar with the comics. So I had our friend in the call, or Discord call, was the one who explained a lot of the things. So I do want to go back and ask him if 616 is the main Earth, quote unquote, or universe, and sorry, something was falling, so I was trying to adjust it. Anyway, so I was wondering if 616 is the main Earth. I mean, if anyone wants to answer that, you're more than welcome to. But, anywho, so they were the Illuminati. They're kind of like the Neo Avengers, essentially. And with the things that happen in this universe, I guess, Doctor Strange was kind of like Thanos, right? In a sense that he was trying to do the good, but at the sacrifice of many lives. And with that, he pretty much voluntarily, has himself killed by Black Bolt's power. You kind of get a hint of his powers and stuff like that, how it works, and he pretty much disintegrated. Not before he's saying sorry and stuff like that. Or I'm sorry, Steven, or something like that. I think that's what he said. So with that though, you get to kind of get to see how Black Bolt's powers work. And there's a lot of explaining going on, blah blah blah, right? But then when Scarlet Witch showed up, that's when it starts to really fall apart for me. Where Mr. Fantastic was like trying to he was doing the talking, and that's kind of natural, right? But then this part really threw me off, and it was that he basically explains Black Bolt's powers to Wanda, and that was like the single sentence that really, really kicked off their downfall. Because he explained his powers like in one sentence, like, oh, by the way, this guy can kill you by talking, right? With his mouth or whatever, and Wanda, or excuse me, Scarlet Witch, being a witch and she has magic and stuff like that, was able to silence him. So it's like, really, like, is that how it's going to start? And Reed Richards, from my knowledge, I've watched the Fantastic Four cartoon and all this stuff. This guy is supposed to be one of the smartest people in the universe, or whatever, or at least on Earth. And he just goes on doing something like that, and that's just like the dumbest thing you can do in that situation. And there you have it. Like, it's like something unbelievable from Mr. Fantastic himself, and he like barely stretches, right? And then so with that, Black Bolt gets his mouth removed, and then he goes boom, right? And that, because that's considered a sound, I guess. He destroyed himself, so that's why his brain and face and stuff like that kind of just imploded pretty much, and just his brain just caved in, or his skull caved in, and he was dead. So he killed himself, and with all that stuff, because so that was really bad, I think, in my opinion. And then so the stuff and then after that, right after that, I think Reed Richards was the next one to die, and he just got turned into like fucking silly string or whatever, or like just ribbons, and just turned into this Jim himself. My friend, one of my friends put it best. Jim was pretty much turned into some Slim Jims, right? Like, it was pretty hilarious. And then after that, the death with Carter, or Agent Carter, or Captain. So the next one, I think the next death was Agent Carter. Carter herself was killed with her own shield and stuff like that. And okay, I mean, at this point, it's like, that's what it is. It is what it is. She can only do so much against someone like Scarlet Witch. But when it came to Captain Marvel, that one didn't make sense to me, right? Because she gets thrown into she's like super powerful. It seems like as powerful as the one that we know, Captain Marvel. With Carol Danvers and stuff like that. She gets thrown into a wall by Scarlet Witch, and then she came out fine. And she's supposed to be the strongest Avenger or whatever, right? But then when you have like a statue just fall on her, she dies. So it's like, what? So you're fine getting thrown into a wall, which of course was a lot of force, right? So you think that she would be able to survive a falling statue, but no, she just dies. She's kind of like the Wizard of Oz style, right? She just pretty much gets squished under the statue of herself, I think, which is kind of ironic. And you see her hand, goes like that. So. And then Charles was doing pretty cool stuff, but then he somehow gets himself with a snap neck, and then that's it. Like, now I get this is supposed to be a display of her power, but I don't know. At that point, it just doesn't feel believable, and the way, especially with the way it started, with Mr. Fantastic kind of giving away the weakness for Black Bolt, which was unbelievable. At that point, it's like, like it left that sour taste in my mouth. Like even if Xavier died in a believable way, it really taints the mind at that point, and especially with the way he died too. You just get his neck snap within his astral form or whatever, like in his in the mind or whatever, and he's gone. So he's supposed to be like one of the most powerful, telepaths and stuff like that throughout the universe, I believe. So, point being, he's supposed to be powerful, and you would think that he would be able to like hold off the witch a lot better, but because of the way the movie was written, they wanted to just get on with it and then just get rid of Charles somehow, and then just have his neck snap. So now, okay, I get it. It's supposed to establish the witch being super powerful. She's supposed to be one of the most powerful figures throughout the MCU universe, right? The whole story. And I get it. I get that. But again, it could have been established way more in a way more believable fashion. But because of the way it was written, it wasn't. It came off way subpar, and I wish that was worked on. So the Illuminati are dead, pretty much. Most of them are dead, and then the thing with Mordo, it just really added up to nothing because he was literally left in a ditch, like it left in the hole or whatever. After Strange was in handcuffs and he was fighting him for a little bit, he was left in a ditch, and then that's it. Like that's all you get with Mordo, and especially with what happened with Doctor Strange, the first one, you would think there would have been like a plot twist, and it is the Mordo that we know, and he just hates the hell out of Doctor Strange, and stuff could have happened there too, but no, it's just another universe. It's an alternate universe Mordo, and that's pretty much that, and it just really added up to nothing, really. So I guess Mordo is the only one left in the Illuminati, and he's on his own. Now, it would have been kind of neat to see him become like the Mordo that we know, because he Strange called him out like, oh, you were happy to see your Doctor Strange die because this and this and that. You didn't like him, and so once he died, you took up the throne or one of the seats of the Illuminati or whatever. And so I felt like that could have been something to sort of like stir up that pot, and then that became like something else that could have been a little cool that way, but no, it didn't go anywhere else. So again, that's that. And then, not to mention the Book of Vajanti, that's supposed to be like a very powerful book, literally was on screen for like a couple of seconds. Like, it was in his hand for like a couple of seconds, and it gets burned, just like that. There's no like other copy. There's no like like a wall or inscription or something like that to pretty much be like the central copy, the master copy of the Book of Vajanti, just like there was with the Book of Holding. And so the Book of Vajanti just came and went just like that in a matter of seconds, and it just burned up. Like, what the heck? And then there was a pretty funny scene after that scene where they were I think they were like they're starting to run away from again or something like that, but essentially the alternate Wanda that Scarlet Witch was possessing, she just like wakes up and just like, oh shit, my boys, and she's just like flies off, and he's like, oh, gotta go make dinner or something like that. I don't know, it just came off that way. Like, it was so like, I don't know, it just jumped to that part, it felt like, and it was like just comical more than anything. I know it's supposed to be serious, like oh my god, my boys, like, because she loves her boys, of course, but I don't know, the way it was like presented, it's like, oh shit, like she didn't even care about her environment and stuff like that around her. Like, she didn't even say like, wait, what the hell, where am I, what's going on? She was just like, oh shit, my boys. And then, I mean, she didn't say shit, but you know what I mean, like, that's what it felt like. And then she instantly like used her powers, so I was like, oh, okay, so it's like it is like Scarlet Witch, but just with kids. So I guess that's just another Scarlet Witch in a way. I thought that part was pretty funny. The There was a dumb part with the music notes fight. It was pretty silly for the most part. And then there was the other Book of Holding that they got from like this evil looking Doctor Strange, and pretty much the main Doctor Strange that we know got a hold of it and was able to do the puppeteer thing, the puppeteer spell, and funny enough, he possessed the dead body of the first Strange that we saw in the movie, where he was, taking care of America or whatever her name was, and where that Strange was kind of like evil-ish, like, I'm sorry, but I gotta take your powers, and then kind of at first, but then later on, America kind of came to understand why that Strange did it, and then, but anyway, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, so he possesses, Strange possesses the other Strange's dead body, so he's like the zombie Doctor Strange, so it's kind of like a reference to like the zombie saga or whatever in the Marvel Comics, which is pretty cool, and I like the visual effects behind that, and then you have the corrupted souls trying to take hold of Doctor Strange. But then his girlfriend, I think it was Rachel, which also has like a little side story too, but I'm not gonna go into that too much. But yeah, so she was with him, and then she was essentially giving him words of support and encouragement, like, hey, you're the sorcerer or something like that. You're the sorcerer supreme, pretty much, and you're Doctor Strange or whatever, and that helped him overcome the souls, and then made him into wings, or pretty much his cape, and then they even had the arms and everything. It was really cool. Like, man, that could have been so cool if this whole other movie was, or the other parts of the movie were done right. So that was that's what happened. And then from what I can understand, the throne where the witch was is supposed to be a reference to like another place in the comics. And that place in the comics was like way more vast or whatever. It was like bigger or more powerful looking, almighty looking, or something like that, from what I can understand. But it was just like a plain old throne room with 4 monsters, and that's pretty much it, who serve under Scarlet Witch, who have been waiting for her apparently for however many years. And then they kind of just like I forget what happens to them, honestly. Like, I think one of them got killed by Wong, right? Because Wong pulled them down from the mountain, and then other stuff happened, and then America at some point, had to stand up for herself and start punching her, right? Obviously didn't win the fight, technically, but she pretty much got around it while using her brain and allowing herself to use the powers to let Scarlet Witch see what it's like to have kids, but with that Scarlet Witch costume, and still have like that alternate Wanda still there, and it's it's supposed to open her eyes, but that's something that she could have thought of from the beginning of the movie, and again, you would think that Wanda would have been understandable or understanding, and could have just left it off of that, right? And the other conflict could have been anything else, right? But she had to be the main antagonist for the movie. And so this whole thing was just a mess at this point, and it pretty much it ended with the books being destroyed. All the books of holdings in the universes, every universe was destroyed, right? So every of those books in the universes were destroyed, or excuse me, multiverses were destroyed. And so with that, all the potential that was behind the Book of Holding is now gone, right? So unless they just kind of like bullshit it and just like, oh, there's one more book that she didn't burn, so that could have been that. Unless they go back in time, and then they'll go up to another set of multiverses, and then there's another book or something like that. It's just, I don't know. It's a mess, and yes, it resulted Doctor Strange getting the third eye because of the Book of Holding, or what he did with the Book of Holding, and so that I guess he got more power essentially, I guess, with some consequences, of course, and we'll have to see in the third Doctor Strange movie. And I forget her name was. It was like, she's supposed to be the niece of Dormammu, so she appears out of nowhere, cuts a portal because she was telling him like, hey, your actions affected this part of the multiverse, the Book of Holding or whatever, and all that stuff. It did something to this part, and then he's like, all right, I'll go with you. And then so that's pretty much the ending credits there, the ending credits scene. And there was one more scene with Bruce Campbell, which was pretty funny because it's a Sam Raimi movie, and that's essentially that. So that's all the major parts for the spoilers, with one more thing I do want to mention, which is Shuma-Gorath, or Shuma-Gorath. Now, I think it's supposed to be not Shuma-Gorath, and it's supposed to be something else. And, at first, it had a different name because of legal reasons or something like that. There was something going on. Now, it could be used as an excuse that isn't Shuma-Gorath, and hopefully Shuma-Gorath will be a thing in the future, right? And that also, hopefully, also means that all the other stuff that was presented in this movie, like Xavier and the Fantastic Four and all that stuff, are going to be making a future appearance somewhere. But I hope to God mostly that the X-Men, features most of the faces that we're all familiar with, including, Patrick Stewart and stuff like that. Now, Wolverine has to be different because, Hugh Jackman is kind of done with that. But I just hope that it's just done justice at this point. And hopefully things like this don't happen. I understand that Sam Raimi was brought in mid-production, so maybe that explained the mess. But I think they should have delayed the movie further to really make sure it was presentable. But for what it is, it's a mess, and unfortunately that's what we have to go with. There will be more in the future, and hopefully somehow we kind of forgive it at some point, because I felt like Iron Man 3 was like that in the past, where a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't like it, but then Shang-Chi came in and kind of fixed that, right? It kind of fixed the problem that we were kind of loathing about, and it made it funny, so hopefully maybe there would be a movie that kind of help fix Multiverse of Madness in a way. But we'll have to see. Maybe there is something cooking, but for right now, it was quite the madness, I would definitely say. And it is still a 5 out of 10, by the way. So that's just how I feel about it. And I won't judge people who liked it, but for me, especially with my friend explaining things, I can't bring myself to like it completely. I think it's one of the bottom MCU movies, and that's pretty much that. So that's pretty much my review on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I do look forward to more stuff. I do want to watch Doctor Strange 3 whenever that comes out, and then hopefully Thor, Love and Thunder will be good, right? It is the Taika Waititi, so I believe that's going to be super awesome to look forward to once it is on Disney+. So I'll look forward to that, and hopefully look forward to all the other stuff, like the streaming stuff, like Miss Marvel, for example, and all that stuff in the future. So that is that. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really appreciate it, guys. And don't forget to check out the merchandise store. I will try to remind myself to put the link in the description. And again, it's not much right now, but I'll try to add more stuff in the store. Maybe if you guys have any ideas, please leave in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to kind of accommodate that. So again, thank you guys very much. This has been my review and my spoiler talk for the Multiverse of Madness. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao now.